this passage goes on and on and on because I didn't know where to cut it.
Okay.
It all hangs together so beautifully. And here you have a situation where Dionysus, who is in the Dionysus myth, if we think of the core of the myth, the suffering righteous.
Mm-hmm.
He's the god who is the native son, and he came unto his own, and his own received him not. That's the way you would say it in biblical terms. And the person who really should be recognizing him more than anybody is his cousin, who looks just like him. And I would imagine that the way this was staged originally in the late 5th century is that Dionysus and Pentheus would be wearing the same mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are sort of identical.
Okay.
And this is a face-to-face encounter.
Right.
And here's the persecutor facing down the suffering righteous, and the suffering righteous faces down the persecutor. But to complicate things, the suffering righteous, the god Dionysus, the native son who's not recognized by his own people, he's also the god of theater.
Right.
So he stages everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that Pentheus doesn't have a free will of his own, but he's still part of a larger cosmic scheme, which is the theater and which is the central myth of what is being dramatized here, which is the persecuted god will now turn the tables on the persecutor.
Right. I like your use of the word cosmic, because I think that word is really important to actually what's going on here, right?
Very much so. And isn't it interesting, Claudia, that it's symbolized, if I can use that word, dangerous word, but I'll try to use it precisely. The cosmic aspect of what's going on here is symbolized by the hair, and how, oh, I shouldn't think of my hair because it's another bad hair day, but anyway, Pentheus certainly has a bad hair day, and his hair keeps getting undone. It's because he's shaking it whenever nobody's looking, or so he thinks. And so when Dionysus says, here, let me arrange it for you, there's that word, kosmane, from kosmos, which is not only the way you're put together personally, but the way the song is put together, and the way the society is put together, and the way the universe is put together. That's why cosmetic and cosmos, as we've been discussing earlier, come from the same word, cosmos, and the verb kosmane. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Can I ask about something, another word you just used, which is this idea of put together?
Put together.
So, I mean, are you sort of thinking ahead when you say that?
Oh yes, and he's not put together, and then ultimately his whole body will be undone, dismembered. And if he's going to be the body politic by virtue of being a king, that means that somehow the dismemberment of the king as the embodiment of the society is also the dismemberment of the society. And if I may fast forward, what's going to happen, of course, is that the society will be reintegrated somehow as a result of this dismemberment. So dismemberment will lead to reintegration.
And I mean, that sort of idea about dismemberment leading to reintegration, of disorder leading to order,
Yes.
that's all part and parcel of Dionysus, of his myth and his sphere of influence.
It's what it's all about, and not just Dionysus, but theater itself, for which he is the god and over which he presides. So the cosmos is the cosmos of theater as well as the cosmos of society, of life, of the universe, and of the song.
Beautiful.
So it's all here, and there's so many words here that are familiar to our participants because we've been reading these words in comparable contexts ever since the beginning of our project.
So what do you think we need to highlight and think about here?
Well, that's the thing, there's so many, but in a way, I think it'll be easier for me just to curb my enthusiasm, no pun intended, because enthusiasm is a Dionysus word. It means have the god inside, and theos. But to curb my enthusiasm, I think I want to fast forward all the way to the end, where Dionysus is saying, a man of terror, you are a man of terror. And the word Deinos, I could talk many, many minutes about this, and I'm trying to squeeze this into just a few seconds. It's it's one of the fundamental ingredients of tragedy.
Okay.
The emotion of, whether we call it terror or fear or horror, whatever, it's that repulsion that you feel when something is right there, staring you in the face, that makes you feel like a deer caught in the headlights.
And not just something, it's Dionysus
The
himself.
something is Dionysus. And for Dionysus to project the idea that the antagonist, the ritual antagonist, who's Pentheus, is a man who is of terror, that reciprocity, that give and take, just tells you almost everything that this tragedy is about. And it gets better. It's how Pentheus is going towards experiences, pathos. We could talk about pathos forever, that are things of terror, deina. So there's so much packed into that. And then here's our word kleos.
Right.
It is somehow, even though Pentheus is the negative hero here, he still gets kleos. He still gets into kleos, which is not just glory, but the glory that's conferred by any kind of poetry, including the song making of drama. And here it is. He's going to get a kleos.
And this is very epic language here that we've seen previously, reaching up to the sky.
Well, I would say it's epic language, but it could modulate into lyric, it could modulate into everything.
Okay.
But I grant you that we're familiar with it first,
Exactly.
by way of epic.
Sorry, yep.
So I would certainly agree with that. And then here it is, another key word. You are headed towards an agon, an ordeal. And we're going to come back to that word again and again. While we're thinking about this particular hour, there's so much here. And then to top it all off, say my name comes back. This wonderful word that is all about meaning and what the meaning of meaning is. So it's all here. And what can we do except almost stand back in wonder at the way Euripides, this master of drama, is able to put together the essence of drama by way of Dionysus.